Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to do a quick review of this guy right here. Please subscribe, please like the Facebook page and follow the Instagram. Would be much appreciated. So this is the Heretic Manticore-X. This is the first OTF review on the channel. I have had many OTFs, but this is the only one left in my collection right now for various reasons. Won't really get into that. I plan to get more, but at the moment this is it. But before we get too far into it, let's get some nice size comparisons going on here. This is not small by any stretch of the imagination. Narrow but not small. So there's the Spudego Shaman. As you can see, the handle is longer than the Shaman and the blade is longer than the Shaman, and definitely the cutting edge by far. Let's go ahead and do the Benchmade 940. As you can tell, similar thing. Handle larger, blade larger, more cutting edge. Same thing here. Let's go a little bit up in price here. But here is the Hinder XM18 3.5 inch. As you can tell, the blades are much closer here. This is still slightly longer blade, and the handle is also slightly longer. But you do not count the glass breaker part, you're still a little bit longer. Now let's go to a little bit up in price again. The Crispy Umdumzan. This is getting a little bit closer in length overall. Though again, same thing with the handle. The handle is longer on this, but that's kind of how it is with OTFs. To house all the internals, you're gonna have to have a slightly longer handle than other means of deployment. Just how it goes. So the blade to handle ratio is always gonna be quite a bit more off on OTF than a normal folder can be, because with the folder you can really max out by quite a bit. You can get really close to a 50-50 ratio. It's hard to do that, but you can definitely get way closer than you can with the OTF. But besides the point, you can kind of get the idea. This is still a longer blade, it's a longer handle, it's closer. So you do have a lot of handle real estate and a lot of blade real estate. This gets slightly closer on the blade length, just a tad on this guy right here. This is the S&G. The handle, though, believe it or not, is still longer on the Manticore. And that's going to be it for the size comparisons, at least for this one. And let's go ahead and get into the details of this guy. So this, of course, is a dual action, which means it is actually a lot safer than single action OTFs. There's a lot less power behind it. Now, is this lacking power? No, not at all. You can, I hope you can hear that. It's snappy. You can definitely see the kick in my hand. Definitely loud. They are maxing, as you can see right here, they are really maxing it out as much as they possibly can, which is good. You can't touch the blade, so that's good, but you can definitely see that tip at the very edge. Nothing wrong with that, but yeah, they are absolutely maxing it out. This is battle worn finish, so as you use it, it's really just gonna look like new still because they already have nicks in it and wear in it, with the button and with the blade and with the clip. That way, like, I don't actually know what I've done, what was already there, to be quite honest with you. This is an LMAX, which is it's a really good user steel. This and probably S45VN are my favorite user steels at the moment. That, and I also would say that there are quite a few other ones out there that are also up there in the same category of great user steels. Just quality steel, period. Now, just kind of looking around at this, the one thing that I really like about it is that they do put the markings right here, but really nowhere else. I mean, you get the blade steel, but on the blade, that's it. You get the H on the bug clip, but so be it. They did good with the clip. It is deep carry. I mean, there's barely anything sticking out. It's really just a small portion of this, and they were able to hide the lanyard hole behind that, so the lanyard hole is not taking priority over the clip, which I much appreciated. It's also very deep, as you can see. You can fit. It's a really good clip, and it's a clip that doesn't really take away from the ergonomics because it's so long. You can stick your, let's say, you can stick your hand here, and you won't be really feeling it. You can go down, and you can get yourself comfortable because there's a lot of ways you can put your hand on this. A lot of ways you can move up and down. There's plenty of room. This is a 3 3/4 inch blade, so it is going to be illegal in a lot of places, period, let alone it being an OTF. An OTF will make it illegal in a lot of places, and then on top of its length, on top of that, its length will make it even more so. So before getting this, do check your laws and all that stuff, and it's not a good idea to purchase one in a state where you can't have one. Also, the action on this is, or at least the activation, the actual switch right here is very good. It's solid, but not hard to activate. There's some OTFs out there that are harder to activate, but this is pretty smooth. As with most OTFs, there is wiggle. You can't see it, but you can hear it. Now here, you can hear it and see it slightly, but that's pretty normal. The blade is both interesting but simple at the same time. Very useful. It is relatively thick behind the edge. But that's one thing about OTFs, they're harder to get thin behind the edge because you don't have not nearly as much drop from here down unless you have your handle be super thick. So this goes by a nice looking design while being effective. and does make the blade quite a bit more durable. And yes, it does cut. It does cut fine. It's not gonna be super slicey, but it'll do 99% of what everybody does every day with a knife. Like, unless you're shaving grapes, you're not really going to need anything more than this when it comes to thinness behind the edge and able to slice and cut. I don't really see a reason that you would need more than that. But one thing to always remember, no, OTFs are not super dangerous or super scary. They're not more dangerous than other blades. In fact, these are actually safer for various reasons. When deploying it, they will go off their track and they may slightly puncture, but they will not go all the way through. They just will not do that. You can't just hold this up against someone and then shoot it and it'll go right through their arm or whatever. Like that doesn't happen. You get a piece of cardboard and it'll hit the cardboard, it might slightly go on the cardboard, but it'll get off track and won't continue. On top of that, closing wise is also safer. You're not going to, with other knives, have your hand in the path of it closing. And it also is true with failure. Let's say if the lock on some locks fail, doesn't matter what kind of lock, but let's say let's just say, I'm gonna pick on CT a little bit, but let's say a liner lock or a frame lock fails. When it fails, it's gonna go, let's say the flipper tab was not in the way and it wouldn't stop on your hand, but boom, that's going straight into your hand. And there are some folders that do not have a flipper tab that would, in fact, if they failed, go into your hand. And also when you're closing it, you have to make sure your fingers or hands are out of the path of the blade, which is a lot more dangerous, more likely for a cut. Where this, you could hand to someone as long as they know how to operate it, as long as they know what's going to happen, have a good grip. But the thing is, even if they don't have a good grip and they drop it, they're unlikely that they're going to actually hurt themselves. They might hurt the blade, and yeah, that sucks. But with this, you don't have to have the conversation, hey, watch when you're closing it, because if you're closing it and especially when they're smooth closing, because I've had a friend that I handed a knife to where I was like, hey, it's super smooth, watch out. And he went to close it and it fell straight onto his thumb. Cut him pretty deep. Where this one I could hand to them and they could do this and that, but they're never going to be in danger of the blade falling on their hands. So that's the benefit of an OTF. In fact, I believe OTFs have more benefits to other mechanisms than cons. The main con is how reliable is the deployment, and the deployment and closing, how long-term, how dependable is an OTF, and how dependable is it in emergency situations. I would say opening wise is very dependable in emergencies, period, is very dependable. Closing is okay, the spring, how long is it going to last, all that stuff, because there's more moving parts, so that is one thing to be aware of. So there's that con, but overall if it's a well-made OTF, I'll say it has more cons than, or more pros than cons. Obviously, every design has its cons. I will say, even though you can move around with the pocket clip, there is a hot spot. You can kind of get around it depending on how you grip it, but it does create a hot spot. But I think the pro to the clip outweighs that small little con. This does have a glass breaker. I don't know how well that one works, but I have used other ones that are like this that work really, really well. So I wouldn't see why it wouldn't also work well. I just don't have a piece of glass to test it out on. Maybe sometime, but not at the moment. And the price for this size of OTF and this quality of OTF is actually pretty outstanding compared to the competition. It's right there with Microtech, or right there with Guardian Tactical and other brands. In fact, it's slightly less, so I think it has a little bit more draw to those who are wanting a high quality OTF without spending $300 plus. So if you want to get an OTF, a larger OTF, but don't want to spend $300 plus, would I recommend this? 100%. If it is legal in your state or in your city or whatever you have to look for. If it is legal, then and you want to try out a larger OTF that also looks good, pockets well, had good action, and a solid durable blade with a solid steel, that also can slice pretty darn well. This is something I would 100% recommend. It is definitely one of those knives, though, to be aware of, to hand to very few people, only people you know that can handle it or know how to use one. But overall, I do recommend this if you can get it legally, and you do want to try an OTF. Definitely one of my favorites that I've used, carried, and put on this channel too. But that is going to be it for this one. You guys have a great rest of your day, and please, again, subscribe. Please like the Facebook page. Please follow the Instagram, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.